Hello. We are actually starting the show. Welcome along to an Englishman in San Diego with no Englishman today. Surprise, surprise. Leonard is, just to fill you in, everybody in who may not be watching, Leonard is on his way back from a convention in London today and had a little bit of problems staying awake, honestly, on his drive home. So he's going to be joining us hopefully in 15 or 20 minutes. Till that point, you have myself, and we've got numerous. And it looks like we may also have Michael P. joining us. We're going to do a bit in honor. I should preface this by saying, in honor of the time change today, which has kind of messed with my head. I don't know if it's messed with everybody else's head. We're doing a bit of an upside down show. We're going to be starting with we'll be starting with media, and then probably going to con news, and then we'll be going to and then we'll be going, into Leonard's. Hopefully by that point, Leonard will be on the show. Michael, are you here? Can I hear you?
I don't know because I'm getting I'm getting weird feedback. Weird feedback.
Okay. I'm going to put my headset on. I am hearing you, so I'm assuming that everybody else is also hearing me, since I'm not getting any notices from the chat group that people aren't hearing and all. And then we're going to, you might want to try a pair of headphones yourself, Michael. That may indeed help you too, just to get the technical side worked out here. Sounds good, says Craig Lindis. No issues. Yay. We might actually get a show on today. Hi, Sarita. Hey, Aaron. Super Cat Chick. It's looking forward, speaking of just on a personal note, looking forward to meeting up with people across the United States in June. Super Cat Chick and I hopefully will be getting together in Kansas City for a few beers. Last time we got together, it was deadly. So just warning. Hey, Mark. Mark Serby says I can hear feedback, but that may just be Alyssa. And Leanne says I could hear you both. Andrew Dickinson is joining us too, as is Craig Lindis, Super Cat Chick, Scott C. Michael P. is on the thing. Hello, Dan Barry from San Diego, sunny San Diego, as is Aaron. Okay, I will get the names right. I promise you. I promise. So I have a little bit of a milestone to celebrate today. I am my lowest weight since the holidays. Yes, and this is without any Comic-Con fit because I've been a slacker. Aaron, you can 50 lashes with a wet noodle on me for that one. Absolutely. But I still am managing to lose weight. So I know people have been talking about Black Panther and how killer it's been with the overseas money that it's been making. Third biggest Marvel. I believe somebody said it was the third biggest Marvel debut or superhero movie of all time. I don't know where that puts it into the lexicon of Marvel movies, but it's got to be up in the top 3, I would assume. If anybody knows, please let me know. Just to I'm getting messages, so I may actually just kind of break my concentration there for a moment. Yes, this is officially the Upside Down Show. That's going to be the title, and I'm going to make sure that Leonard announces that and puts it on his on the blog that's what it's going to be, and that is where it is. So if anybody knows where the Black Panther fits into the scheme of things, I'd love to know. I'd love it to be the top highest grossing film. That and Wonder Woman. I think it would just be an absolutely fabulous testament to the management of the big movie studios. Andrew English is saying the UK doesn't spring forward for another 2 weeks. Did anybody else catch the Lost in Space trailer? Did you catch it, Michael?
Yes, I did. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay,
wow.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I thought that was great.
It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Let's face it, they've Lost in Space doesn't have a good track record at this point. So this one looks like it might possibly be interesting. So we have to take a wait and see, I think. But I like that robot that they have, which is not quite a robot, right?
Yeah. No, that looked great. I mean, that was very there was a couple of it kind of reminded me of in the Thor movie. There was one of the robots that was in that, and kind of, and there's also been a couple of Marvel characters that have been drawn that have had that kind of infinity look in their face. And that I thought was fascinating. I'm of the generation that was a huge Lost in Space fan. I'm reaching for something here. Yes, I just happen to have my Lost in Space season 1 DVDs here that I'm dusting. Yeah, can you see the dust that just fell off? So I am.
Think about this though. Don't they remind you of the Sentinels from the X-Men, the X-Men film before the apocalypse? Yeah, that's what they remind me of.
Yes, exactly. I think that's what I was trying to remember, but was having a little bit of a hard time. It's also interesting to me that they're having one of the things that we're going to be going into a little bit later is the WonderCon schedule, and they're also having a Netflix Lost in Space panel at WonderCon, which I thought I'm not quite sure, but I think that may be the only Netflix panel. That might be the only Netflix panel at WonderCon is the Lost in Space. Does anybody else know?
I took a quick look at it, and I have to go back and look at mine a little bit harder because not to take away thing about Netflix and Lost in Space, but there's been a big thing on Twitter. They're trying to push for an Expanse panel, which is like way too late right now for them to try to do that. But anyway, no, I'm looking. Netflix is finally starting to show up. Finally, don't you think? So it's like it's about time when you say it's about time.
Well, I think they've been behind the 8 ball. There's a lot of people who are playing catch up, and they don't really want to. I think they don't. These networks, they don't really. The newer networks like the Hulus and the Netflixes, and they don't really want to push forward into an area that they don't understand. So they've been kind of getting the feel of it before they do go ahead and push through. Let's see. We've got some numbers on the Black Panther, Andrew Dickinson, all-time domestic box office. And a bunch of numbers that I'm not going to be able to do. Black Panther is number 21 for all-time box office now. Only Civil War and Iron Man 1 and both Avengers movies are higher in the box office. So this is number 5 so far, and we're only Black Panther is, and we're only a couple of weeks out from its premiere. So that bodes well that it's gonna bump up into the higher ratings. That's good to hear. Let's see, Andrew Dickinson.
I think Andrew, could you check that again against Box Office Mojo? I thought they passed the $1 billion worldwide mark already, and I just haven't looked lately. I'm trying to keep up with like 20 different things, and of course I'm keeping up with nothing. So
right, yeah. Oh, tell me about it. While I am very sad that I'm not going to be at WonderCon this year because the panels look amazing. Are you going to go to WonderCon, Michael?
Yes. I first I was going, then I wasn't going, and then yes, I'm going again. But
Okay.
I'm looking forward to, I'm actually volunteering too. I don't know, I've been having a discussion with Kevin back and forth about this, but I'm volunteering, and so I'm going to do a write up about volunteering afterwards too. So,
Oh,
and
nice.
and I think you know what, for people, and let me just put in a quick plug for volunteering, especially for people that are in the Anaheim area. Volunteering at WonderCon is it's a lot of fun, and it's nowhere near. I don't want to use a negative word for San Diego, stressful, but let's face it, San Diego is in a whole nother realm that there's no way to describe it, and you can't compare it to anything. It is San Diego. But if you want to volunteer and actually have a chance to look around and get to know the people, WonderCon is a great opportunity. It's easier to volunteer for WonderCon ways. I mean, you can actually get a volunteer job with WonderCon. I mean, as I've told people, no one has to die. You don't have to give up your first children. You don't have to give up your firstborn to the Comic-Con gods, right? To get a volunteer slot there. And it gives them a chance to get to know you too, and you get to know them. So it's not a bad thing. It only helps you if you really later on want to try to volunteer for Comic-Con, because you get to know the people and the departments. And if they really like you, you could put in a word with them. They can put in a word with Sue. So if you do a really good job, and they really like you, just have them put in a good word with Sue for you. Sue Lord is head of volunteers. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. She's head of the volunteers for Comic-Con International.
Do you only have to do a 4-hour shift for WonderCon like you do for San Diego, or do you have to do a longer shift?
No, it's about 4 hours, and for the day that you kind of want to volunteer, you want to go into is the day you volunteer as a general rule. Although if you volunteer on Thursday, you want to go Friday, sometimes you can ask them, hey, instead of getting a badge for today, can I get one for tomorrow? You can ask them. I'm not saying they're going to do that, okay, and I don't want to speak for them, but it never hurts to ask people, and especially if you do a very good job for them. It never hurts to ask.
And you ask pleasantly.
Yes.
With the understanding that you may get rejected. Well, we just can't do it. That's an acceptable answer.
It doesn't hurt to bring baked goods from home either.
Oh, that's true.
Chocolate chip cookies. Everyone loves chocolate chip cookies. Okay, so we're all geeks and nerds that go there and work there. So we love our cookies. We love our good stuff like that. So just bring that along. It never hurts. It never hurts.
Absolutely. I totally agree. Yes, baked goods. And if you can't afford baked goods, sometimes I personally, since I don't bake, I'm a huge anti-baker. For sweets and the like, you can buy cupcakes that look really pretty.
Yes.
That's good too.
Cupcakes are still in. For geeks, cupcakes are still in. So yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. I do want to put, since we're doing an upside down show, I do want to put out a huge shout out for a couple of TV shows that are happening in this week in television. Michael, have you seen Timeless? It's the second season is returning this week. This was the show that got canceled. And then a week later, I think it was NBC brought it back last year.
Have you noticed something about NBC? Let me just throw in a plug for another show too, which is Midnight Texas, right? They waited for the longest time before they said they were going to renew that one. Timeless, people, I think, to me, Timeless has that wonderful opportunity to be entertaining and informative at the same time, because we're talking about history and they're talking about different parts of history. The one episode, I love the episode when they were talking about Katherine Johnson in that one at NASA. Remember that one? That's why, to me, that's why that show is so important and could be so much fun. It makes history fun and it makes it accessible. And sometimes it brings back those obscure parts of history that had really, really immense impacts on us, but for some odd reason, the history books don't talk about them as much, or else you have to be a history buff to find out those things,
Right, because, I mean, a lot of the episode that stood out in my mind for Timeless is they had an episode, well, one of the characters is Black, and they brought back to Civil War, pre-Civil War in down south someplace, one of the southern states. And the black character was being normal, and just the normal things that we take for granted were so, and being white, I don't understand this. The things that we take for granted were so threatening to the Southern people. Then it was the black character, said they're there to a white woman, and just patted her on the hand, and that was he was taken out and beaten, and that was that was shocking to me, that something that's so normal was so blown out of proportion.
You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for them to do the Black Cowboys out west. Because if you watch, no, seriously, if you watch Westerns, apparently there were no black cowboys. But if you lived out west, and especially like Oklahoma, if you actually go to Oklahoma now, there are these families that have been there for generations, and they had farmed the land and they had raised cattle. Yeah. And if you watch Hollywood, that never happened. But right. there were all these black cowboys, and I'm kind of hoping at some point, they're going to do an episode, them out west, and show the black cowboys. But it's a wonderful opportunity to educate people that that's not phony. There were black cowboys, and they actually did things. And they actually made a difference. And
bringing history into the everyday lives of people, I think, is why I like Timeless so much. Anyway, that is returning. That's returning this week for season 2, and just like Ash versus Evil Dead, which is kind of on the border of getting canceled. I can only assume, since Timeless was on the bubble last year, that they're also going to be on the bubble. So, if you're at all interested in the show, you take a watch, try and do it, real time, live, within 24 hours at least, just to kind of lend your support if you're at all interested in the show. Another TV show which is airing this week, which I happened to catch the first episode at New York Comic-Con last year. I was just looking for something to do, and there was this new show that was happening called Deception, and I said, I'll go see that, because it looks fun. It's about a magician. A classical magician, in everyday reality, who works for the FBI. It's a kind of a pretty well done script, but it's fun, and I think Kevin said it has a castle air to it. Just a comedy, and the twist that it had in the first episode surprised me. That's not hard to do. I'm easily surprised. I never know where scripts are going, even if they're a tired trope. I never know where the scripts are going. Regardless, did you happen to catch it at New York Con or see anything about this one, Mike?
I wasn't at New York Comic-Con, but think about this. Doesn't he remind you of the character? And I know you like this show. It's Inception. Remember the main character from Inception? Mm-hmm. Was it Inception? Was it the show where the guy took the pill and then he became super smart?
Yes. Right. It wasn't. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was Inception, but I did. Yeah, it does remind me of that. It has that fun, light airiness to it. It doesn't take itself too seriously. Right. It's not a drama. It's a comedy procedural, and with twists in it. With the mechanism to have the twists with the magician deceptions thing. Limitless. Andrew Dickinson is saying. Yes. Yeah. And he's also putting out Durango Unchained. Going back to our the
Black Cowboys. Yeah,
the Black Cowboys.
Blazing Saddles. You can't count Blazing Saddles as a Black Cowboy. No, Andrew. No. Oh, did I say no, Andrew?
He brought it. But it brought Blazing Saddles was, Mel Brooks. it really kind of it caused it started the changes. Mel Brooks did, and he's
Right.
brilliant. Yeah, which is
it was the first start. Oh, you mean they actually had black highways or a black sheriff, or even marshals and stuff. Yeah,
yeah.
guess what? They did. But again, if you listen to Hollywood, we don't know about those. And so, yeah, Andrew, yeah. But Django Unchained, yeah, I did. But there was there were a whole bunch of other issues with Django Unchained. So it's like, yeah, it did actually bring that out there. But it's Quentin Tarantino. So there's a whole bunch of issues there.
Yes, we won't. We
Quentin.
won't. We won't go into that one. Speaking, well, since we're kind of going into a little bit with we're bridging the gap between media and WonderCon panels. Just kind of looking at the WonderCon panels, one of the things that I'm not seeing, which in general, let me back up here a moment and just kind of start the WonderCon panels. I went through them first thing this morning, and I have to say they are. I really am enjoying the breadth of panels they have. I think they've stepped up. You've got a mock trial happening. You've got Spotlight on Larry Hama, which is one of my personal one of those Silver Age artists that I happen to really like. Oh, and we have Leonard, who's sideways. Nice. We have a sideways Leonard. We've got a Smithsonian Star Trek learning experience. So they've got a wonderful. Hang on one second, Leonard. So they've got a wonderful breadth of panels happening. What I don't see, aside from one panel, is anything that addresses inclusivity in Black Heroes Matter. Or am I missing something?
No, you know what? I did see a lot of LGBT. You have to excuse me. I'm going to forget some of the acronyms there. But the gay community. It seemed to me that they had a lot going on there in terms of in terms of panels for that, which is a lot. I mean, when I say a lot, I mean I noticed there was like, wow, well, there's one there, and there's one there, and there's one different day. So I thought that was really good that we're seeing that too. I think that there's so much going on there. And going back to what you're saying, WonderCon, they really are. I mean, this is for a 3-day show. If you look at everything that's included there, they have some serious talent and serious issues. The writers program that they have going there, oh my gosh, so many good ones with the writers talking about the process and this and that. And it really is good. It really is good.
Well, I just have to. It was just one of those things that I kind of noticed because we've been pointing out diversity issues with regards to Wonder Woman and Black Panther and New York Comic-Con and how well received the diversity issues were over there. There was only one real panel that seemed to even broach those kinds of issues. And I think, and I'm looking for it was on Saturday. It's at 7:30 at night. It's called Geek Offensive, Uncomfortable Questions from a Terrible Hat. And if you dive into the description, it says racism, all of the isms and discriminate, and how people manage to keep diversity out of the office rooms. But that was the only panel that I really saw. So but I think that they've done an amazing job with all of their other panels. With that said, we're going to go into the WonderCon shows a little bit in more specific and a bit in more details. I just wanted to get that preface out of the way before I introduce the host of the show, who did the long drive back from London.
Be very impressed I actually am here. I nearly killed myself a good 5 or 6 times on the road today. Absolutely shattered. Just checking my audio's okay, because yours is a bit choppy, both yourself and Michael.
You are a little kind of underwater, and yeah, you're kind of a little choppy. You're, cutting in and out yourself. It may be the signal from where you are, because I'm getting a good signal from Michael and myself. A bit dodgy and quiet, says Andrew Dickinson.
Okay. What I might ask, I'm going to disappear for 2 minutes and restart the phone.
Okay. Just if for some reason, folks, because this has happened in the past, when Leonard disconnects, the show goes blank, I don't know what we're going to do. Okay. We will try and come back, but it will be dependent upon Leonard to get us started up again, since I don't have the correct linkage. Okay. So I'm just reminding you of this, what happened at that show a few months ago, Leonard. Okay.
Okay.
So
if I think if you eject me, I should be okay.
Okay, so I am going to, I get to eject Leonard. Oh, this is nice. Let me try and figure out how to do that. How do I do that? Let's see. Oh, he's gone. No, is he there? I don't know how to eject Leonard.
No, wow. Yeah, he's still there, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to eject Leonard.
I'm still trying to figure out how to get the chat on the Hangout. I can do the chat on the YouTube, but I haven't figured out how to do the chat on the Hangout part. So whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, need to practice. But anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully Leonard will message me and let me know how to eject him, or we'll actually get out of that. Regardless. Oh, and now I'm hung. Nope, there I'm not. Okay, there we go. We should be back to normal. Reading through the comments. Leonard is the worst connection. Hey, oops.
That's a good one.
Yeah, exactly. Andrew, I want to say, hey, Andrew, nice to see you. Glad you could make it in to the show today and actually catch what's going. What other, speaking of WonderCon panels, what other shows stood out to your mind in WonderCon?
Well, I always like to go see the shows that are new. They're going to do, I think they're going to do a Black Lightning panel. So it's too bad Kevin won't be out there, because I think he would enjoy that panel. And you know what? I'm shameless, okay? First of all, let's admit I'm shameless, okay? Chris Williams, who's the star of Black Lightning, is a fan of a certain other show. I won't mention the name. But anyway, but it's good because finding out some history about him, he's actually a very interesting person. He was born in Germany, so I'm hoping that I'm going to get to go to the panel and have a chance to chat with him, because I want to find out. He was actually born near where I was stationed in the military, so maybe we'll have something to chat about. Yes, I have an interesting life. Okay, but anyway, yeah. But I just find it interesting that these guys, they're just, they're very complex people and wonderful human beings. And it's really great, getting a chance to chat with them. There are a couple other new shows. I have to look at my schedule here. I was going through it fairly quickly and setting up my schedule, right? But there are a lot of first time, initial showings, of the shows. And I always try to take the chance to look at them without commercials, watching with the crowd who's going to be appreciative of it,
Mm-hmm.
And if that crowd's not liking it, it's not making it. It's just not happening. We saw, I remember at Comic-Con in San Diego, they did a special show, animated showing of Supernatural. Wow. It was startling how badly people felt about that at the time. People literally were laughing at the serious scenes and booing at other scenes. It was just, It was shocking. Every once in a while, there's something happens at Comic-Con where you go like, wow, am I on Jerry Springer or is this really Comic-Con, And so it was interesting, but the bottom line is it's always good to see the shows first. Again, shamelessly pushing another show, The Expanse. I saw it there for the first time. I knew there was no doubt in my mind that was going to be a great show. It was incredible. It was wonderful. And this is time for us to get ahead of this stuff and, get out to the community and talk about it, don't you think?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, and that's why they do it is, it's a great first test audience among fans. Andy says, yes, Black Lightning. Sadly, Cress and the cast aren't going to be there. I'm assuming he means the Black Lightning cast won't be there. Karma Savage, but Salam and several of the writers are going to be there. I think Salam, if I remember correctly, is the showrunner for it.
I love talking. You know me. I love talking to the writers. Actually, a lot of times I'd rather talk to the writers than than the actors, because the writers, they tell you, oh my God, because remember,
you can get hints from the writers. You can't get hints from the actors. The actors know how to say no better than the writers do. The writers are just like they're blah 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 blah.
Well, at Comic-Con last year, I had a chance to talk to Mark Fergus and Nareen Shekhar. Yeah. Oh my God, what those guys knew, and Mark afterwards, he actually had a private conversation with me afterwards. Wow, did I learn a lot? I mean, he laid out, how they had planned everything and how they set up for the show. It was you need that. You need that background information. He just had so much. It was just really, and of course Naren, that man is, no, seriously, I'm speechless. He has 2 PhDs, right? He's just so smart. It is good to talk to these really, really bright people.
But we are going to talk about other things aside from
yes, we are. All right, I'm stopping.
Okay. I know. Okay, just reminding you. Dan Barry says, looking forward to the WonderCon panel, Shooting Clerks, a panel about the Kevin Smith biopic. With at least one surprise guest. For some reason, I don't think I saw that one.
I think I glanced at that, but you know what? Let's hope he's out of the hospital and maybe he'll be the surprise guest, right?
That would be cool. He's out of the hospital. No. He's out of the hospital. And last I heard was feeling great. I mean, feeling so good, and he looks thinner. He said he was going vegan, which is going to turn into vegetarian, because we understand how, nobody's going vegan on, first off, after eating red meat for years. We know how this works. My son said he was going to go vegan, and then we said, do you really know what that means? Regardless. So hopefully, he looked amazing. Some of the panels that appealed to me was the science of Pacific Rim. I'm really looking forward to the second installment of the Pacific Rim series. Andrew Dickinson said he's filmed at Fat Man and Batman already. So great. He hopefully he will be there. That would be a really nice. I can just imagine the reception that he would get walking into the large venue. I mean, everybody would just stand up and cheer for him, like Robert Downey Jr. when the first Avengers were announced, because what he overcame was just heartwarming. Anyway, I'm sorry, I digress there.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but how about this? The Smithsonian Star Trek Learning Experience. I mean, that's one of those good learning ones, that's just really, and the Smithsonian putting on, so it's going to be top notch.
And how they said in that one, they said that one was one on hit my list too. If I was going, I would absolutely be there. A hologram, special guests and a hologram was going to be there. That day, they've also got Jack Kirby's art extravaganza for any of the art people, comic art out there. Last year, they had at New York Comic-Con, they in that one, they said that there would be a gift for people. Last year, they gave out a poster A nice art, this size poster, 11 by 17 poster of a Jack Kirby print. It was very well done, and I think it was a cover of something that he did. I would assume that they're going to give the same thing out again.
Well, you were talking about diversity earlier at 3:30, entrepreneurial women in geek culture.
Yeah. I know. Okay. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. I think there is no question in my mind that CCI is trying. Yeah. Absolutely.
But what I love about that is that, that not only, I mean, clearly, I love when they talk about entrepreneurial people, just doing things. And because one of the things that women have always complained about is the clothes, the geek clothes, they're usually made for men. Like you always have the t-shirt sizes, right, and men's sizes, and then in men's shapes too, right? And it's like, they're going like, well, we wear these t-shirts, we wear these clothes, where are our fashions, right? And so now you've got this thing where, they're doing this, and there's a market for it. Especially tasteful clothes, ones that just you can wear out in public and wear a lot of different places, and people, they have to look at you twice and go like, wow, I know that show, I've watched that show too, So
absolutely,
I love that. I think that's a great thing. I think Tony Kim has done a great job.
Tony and his alliance with El Hafa Designs. I think absolutely. I think Leonard is trying to join us again, but continuing on to the shows on Friday for WonderCon. Another show that stood out in my mind was Stargate Reopen the Gate, which was talking about their next show coming up. That would definitely be one that I would try and hit. Whether or not I would actually get there is another matter. So, Leonard, do we have audio from you?
We have. It's
you're breaking
very
up.
choppy at this end. I'm using a very, very poor laptop.
Yeah, he's looking kind of.
I'm guessing that's a no.
Yeah.
That's Leonard. That's iffy. It's really is.
Yeah. I can't. I don't know what to say. We're going to continue on with WonderCon shows and figure out what you want to do. The next show that was interesting to me, of course, and I think somebody else had already mentioned it, was the mock trial. Can R2D2 and C3PO sue Mos Eisley Cantina for discrimination? Which I thought was interesting. It certainly is. It's within an hour framework. It is something that could be tackled within an hour. I'm not sure it's a big. I'm not sure it addresses some of the social and moral questions that are going on in our society. But it does in a lighthearted way, which is fun. Had you thought about going to that one, Michael, or anybody else?
No.
No.
Okay. No. They've done some other better trials that have been way, way better. And again, this one is like one of those ones. There could be so many. I would have preferred they do a mock trial of Killmonger.
Oh, absolutely.
That would have been,
yes.
My God, the issues that he brought up and all this other
yes.
stuff. Oh my God, that would have been so timely, so perfect. In fact, I would submit to you that would have been oversubscribed. That room, whatever room they're putting it in, wouldn't have been big enough because so many people would have gone, to that one.
Right. I mean, even I'm not familiar with the Black Panther canon, so I didn't really understand. But I was kind of like going, "Are you really sure he's a bad guy?" I mean, what he's bringing up is not you know, so that it would be interesting. That would have been fascinating to have gone seen. Andrew Dickinson is saying Starship Smackdown, Wars versus Trek.
Wow.
Yeah. So that, you know, that sounds interesting. I think there's been a number of SmackDown shows that have come on too. So one of the other ones that was interesting to me was hip hop and comics, cultures combining. That I thought was would have been fascinating to attend. I love the idea of bringing in street artists and comic artists together, and you know, pushing the boundaries. I think that would be really fun to see. What other shows did you have? Any other shows that were interesting?
Well, there were. Did you see they're going to do 100 special video presentation in Q&A? I wonder if they're going to do the entire first episode. It's only an hour, but those shows usually go about 40 minutes, you know, with commercials. Mm-hmm. And so they could actually do that. I don't know how, you know, if that's what they're planning to do, because I can't stand it when they just show snippets. Show me the entire episode so I can just fully immerse myself in it, you know? Mm-hmm. So yeah, I've looked at a lot of other ones. I've got all this stuff. I've got it set up. I hadn't planned to be on today, so I hadn't.
Absolutely. So I won't question you, but I will say that Aaron is backing me up with the hip hop and comics panel, saying that that's always a good panel to check out. So hopefully, maybe if Aaron goes to WonderCon this year, he will record the show so we can get an idea of what it was, because given Aaron's background in the visual arts, I can only imagine that it would be it would be fun to watch, and just to kind of get an idea about where things are going. That would be neat.
Well, did you see the greatest cartoons? I'm sorry, the greatest cartoons ever. That's in the arena, so they're going to be showing all these different cartoons there too. So I'm hoping they'll show some Looney Tunes or something. Oh yeah, Looney Tunes are the best cartoons ever made.
You say best cartoons ever, and I'm like, who killed it? You know, what's that one about the rabbit? You know, with Elmer Fudd and the rabbit. You know.
Oh, what's opera, Doc? What's opera, Doc? Remember that one? That was. I mean, the music. Remember, they always had that classical music. Everything about that was classy. They were amazing. They were amazing. Yeah, you know. And I think one of the greatest conductors at the time actually conducted some of the things for them. Leopold Stokowski, right? Mm-hmm. I think he actually conducted some of the orchestras, you know, for underneath there. I mean, these guys, people would do that back in the day. Not anymore, but back in the day they would.
Yep. Absolutely. Aaron is saying that if he gets to the panel, he will record it. So yay. Unnecessary. One of the other panels on Friday, which stood out in my mind, was unnecessary debates, which is, and the blurb that they said, and I'm paraphrasing here because I didn't write down what the blurb was, but they said something about, Conan versus Tarzan costumes. I don't mind looking at either of them in costumes. I'm not sure that, but it's an hour, you know, of fun debates, and we still have Leonard trying to join us. Fingers crossed for you, buddy. I'm hoping you get on, seriously. I really am.
Did you see Lawyers versus Kaiju? Did you see that one?
Yes, I did.
That's actually interesting. The liability issues, you know, when they're fighting and all this other stuff. That actually, I always wondered about that.
Oh, right. And I mean, speaking of the Avengers, the first Avengers movie, they wrecked New York City. Who's paying for that? Absolutely. That's that. So how are we doing, Leonard?
I think we're doing okay.
Yay!
We can hear you. Yay! So,
as long as I don't go anywhere near my Wi-Fi network, I'm fine.
Okay. Well, we're going to reintroduce Leonard, the host of An Englishman in San Diego.
This is a
This is
listen. If you, the other instance of me joining, if you can just eject that, please. If you just close that. If you just hover over the little icon, and there you go. Right. Well, yeah. Look, I mean, I looked over the WonderCon listings, and I mean, I know that I just caught the statement that you were thinking that, that there wasn't enough diverse, or did you feel that there wasn't enough challenging diverse panels, or that there wasn't enough diversity panels? Because there is a bit of a there's two topics there. There's one which covers the topics, and then there's one that challenges the topics. Do you know what I mean?
yes, I do. I felt that there wasn't enough challenge there,
Right.
and this is a minor point. This is an incredibly minor point. This is not. I mean, they've done a fabulous job with their programming. You know, I'm being picky here.
Okay. That makes sense. I mean, I think the diversity panels that they've chosen, especially a couple of the LGBTQ panels, I think they're going to have the challenge show up. I think. I mean,
I hope you're right.
If the diversity in comics and Captain Cummings' crew decide to make an appearance, that, I mean, we could have a similar situation as we had at New York with a number of retailers challenging the Marvel panel, which went down in infamy, as it were. So there is that possibility. But I think in terms of representation, I think it's a very strong lineup this year. To move away from that, I mean, the one thing that someone noticed, that there wasn't too much in the way of film. In fact, if any at all, it's all television. Television is absolutely dominating the landscape this year. Even the Netflix representation is stronger than any of the studios. I know that we've got a couple of the Warner Brothers animations getting pilots. We're getting Sirens getting piloted. There's a number of shows that are being shown and being premiered at WonderCon. It's all about the TV.
Leonard, though, to think about this, though, and I actually agree with what you're saying, because I noticed that too, but actually I think it's Saturday, Warner Brothers presentation. I think we're hoping that will be the secret.
45 minutes doesn't tell you a thing.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, I don't think there's the budget for that on some of these films. They just decide that they're going to go to the bigger cons, i.e., New York, San Diego, maybe one other, or something in the States, but usually it's the two big ones, and that's what they have budgeted for, is my guess. And the smaller ones, I don't know if they say they get a big enough bang of the buck for it. That's all.
I would say one word: Aquaman. I think they'll want to try and get some kind of momentum after Justice League, even if it's just promoting the one film. I think they may, even just to rock out a trailer.
Well, who actually does that? Actually makes sense. I know I'm agreeing with you because he does a lot of the local shows, Jason Momoa, and so he could make it, because he lives in LA, so it's not that big of a deal for them to drive him over for the day.
And also James Wan will show up for the opening of an envelope. So there is that. So yeah,
it's funny, but no, yeah, I'm hoping that they do that.
What have you been talking about in terms of the strength of the days? I mean, certainly, I think Thursday looked pretty impressive, actually, as a first day.
You mean Friday?
Friday, sorry.
Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely. Friday was a nice first day.
Lots of spotlight panels, lots of showcasing of some incredible, so like really micro detailing on some great talent.
Yeah, none of Yeah, none of the big, there wasn't the big movie panels that day, but it was really some interesting, I hesitate to use diverse, but, a wide range of panels, I think is a better word for it. I had already mentioned the Larry Hama panel, which I think is just is nice, to have, because he's one of those artists that was a mainstay in the Silver Age, and just hasn't quite gotten the recognition. I had the pleasure to meet the man a year or two ago, and he likes getting out to cons. He likes talking to people. So that's cool. Go up, say hi, get a sketch.
I noticed that a lot of the names that are being put forward for the Will Eisner Hall of Fame are being represented at WonderCon. It's almost kind of like a precursor to that. It's almost like if you want to find out more about this talent before we honor one of them with a Hall of Fame statuette. I thought that was interesting. I also like the spotlight panels as well. If you actually look at them, it actually pairs them with not just generic interviewers either. It's people who have played a big part in that person's career, which I think that because I think they're kind of working on the not Shelley Bond. There was a panel at San Diego Comic-Con, which was a showcase panel, and they paired these two together. And because they had such a symbiotic relationship early on in their career, it almost became a dual panel, if you know what I mean. And it really kind of worked on a very specific part of comics history. And I thought that was very clever. And I think they're kind of taking that model and applying it to the spotlight panels, certainly at WonderCon. And I think we may see that again at San Diego. I think that's it's a clever idea. It's not just rocking up the same old comics historians and
Speaking of rocking up the same old comic historians, one panel that I caught a few years ago, the Jack Kirby tribute panel, while yes, it does bring up the historians, and I'm not, this is definitely one of those niche comic hardcore Silver Age panels. Well, with
Jack Kirby, you've kind of got no choice.
Right, exactly. No, you've got no choice with him. But it brings, this particular panel brings out the stories. For some reason, Neil Adams told a few stories about Kirby and Stan Lee that were just eye-opening in terms of the interactions between them. And so you've got Evner is going to be there as, he's the regular host for this one, but he's going to be there as Will, an assistant of Kirby. So if you're interested in the history of that sort of diving into the real geek comic stuff, that's a fun one to catch on Sunday.
Sorry, is that, just to clarify, is that Mark Evanier, yeah?
Yes. Sorry, I mispronounced, because, I never have problems with names.
Mark he keeps fresh. The panels that he always runs are informative. He knows when to step back and let the person talk, and he's because he's played such a huge pivotal role in comics himself, he knows what buttons to press to get the right stories out.
Speaking of that, I saw a panel with Miller and his an artist that he's worked on the Batman series with, Asaziani or something like that. Anyway, it was a recent panel. Yeah, right, because names again. But the host of this, I went up to, and after the panel, I said that you did a great job hosting. And he said the key is to know when to step back and let people talk. And I, if anybody else out there, yeah, it's hard. It's really, really hard. So.
I think, like I say, the spotlight panels are very strong. I think it gets into the Saturday and the Sunday when they get into kind of it's not the event panels, but certainly kind of like the showcasing of the like Marvel and DC, the storylines. I mean, for example, I know there's the metal and the metal panel, which Scott Snyder's going to be obviously taking part in. I noticed that's kind of being shunted more towards. I've noticed those are clashing, almost deliberately with the TV panels. It's almost like, okay, pick your poison. It's either the comics or the pop culture.
Pick your track. Well, people have to have tracks. You got to have tracks. That is evident. That is absolutely evident. And this is to the audience too. And Mark Serby just spoke up and said, I can name a few panel hosts who are more interested in talking about themselves than the talent on the panel. Yes.
Yeah, but remember, Leonard, you talked about that certain person who's a beautiful human being who just forgot that the panel was not about her, but it was about the people that she was interviewing. And you know what I'm talking. I don't want to mention any names because I love her to death, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, not me, right?
It's not you.
No. Okay. Okay, I'm sorry, because I'm drawing a blank here. Okay.
Yes, we know who we're talking about.
Yes.
Okay. As long as it's not me, I'm okay. Sorry.
Yeah. We love her. We love her to death. Seriously, we love her to death. But you can't let her interview people. And you know who else though too? Remember when George R.R. Martin was the moderator of one of the Game of Thrones panels? Oh Lord, dear God! I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being profane, but dear God in heaven, that was bad. Oh.
Okay. I want to see him.
Come here to slag off people.
No, I know. But I love him to death. I mean, the man is a great artist. I met him in person at a bookstore. It was a sci-fi bookstore in LA. The guy who owned the store, I was buying a book, and the guy said, "Hey, do you want this signed?" I said, "Sure." I thought I had to leave the book there. He yells, George, come over and sign this guy's book." George R. Martin comes over and just signs my book right there in the bookstore. I'm just standing there going,
nice.
I love him.
Sweet.
But there are things people are brilliant at doing, and there are things they're not brilliant at doing. He's a brilliant writer. The man is a brilliant writer. We know this.
He's just not a very good sprinter.
Oh my God.
Right.
Any other panels that people are looking forward to? And I'm including this in the audience members. Anything else that stood out to you as being an interesting panel?
Annoyingly, this is where I really could do with my laptop in front of me, because if you bear with me, let me just see if I can.
Don't go on your Wi-Fi. We don't want to lose you again.
No. I'm just going to.
I will just do a shout out while you're looking for your stuff for the talkback panel. Again, Aaron, if you do go to if you do manage to get to the talkback panel, or if anybody else does, just do a recording, an audio recording. We would love to hear what was said. I will say though, and I think this was last year, I went to the WonderCon talkback panel. There was one question.
I'm just gonna say, wasn't it like over and done with him? Like,
yes,
mm-hmm.
and I've forgotten the gentleman's name who runs Comic-Con.
John Rogers.
John was like, what? One question. This is, so it was, I get, this was a gift to Comic-Con because of all of our esteem that they ran such a wonderful show. And that, there was only one question. But if anybody does happen to go to it, we do want a recording of it. Andrew Dickinson says the golden age of tabletop. I have to say, I've been seeing a lot of panels about tabletop and Gen Con and those types of things. I am personally, and wherever I end up, I am really looking to getting into some tabletop games.
The critical role and the success of that show is really picked that off, and also tabletop gaming or tabletop from Will Wheaton as well. I think between the pair of those two, off tabletop gaming and AD&D, I think, we're in a golden age. If you were a moderator back at school, if you were the nerd that ran an AD&D group, this is your time, man.
Do it. I mean, I'm putting this out there for anybody in SoCal. When I get out there, my plans are to move out there for July and August and stay for at least 6 months. That's to get an idea about whether or not I'm going to like the climate. But I am definitely into joining tabletop groups. So if there's anybody out there that knows of a group starting up or a place to go, hit me up and let me know. Let's see. Dan Barry says,
excuse me.
Yes.
What class would you be in?
What?
I see you as a mage.
I'm sorry?
I see you as a mage. You as an elf.
I've never done any tabletop because I've always been out in the boonies. I don't know. I'm new. I'm a newbie. So we'll see. But I'd love to try it. Dan Barry says X-Men TAS 25th anniversary panel at WonderCon.
Yep. These are a couple of people that actually showed up in our Q&A last week and was talking about
it.
Yes, it's Julie, and they're a great bunch. These are the original producers of the X-Men original animated series. Possibly one of the best representations of the X-Men on any screen. The book is amazing. I can imagine they're going to have lots of stories to tell, certainly on their panel and also on their apparently they are manning their table all weekend. So good. That'll be worth checking out.
That'd be if you happen to have a cell from their show, that would be a great opportunity to get it signed.
Yep.
I would. Well, I'm a collector. I'm redoing the art on my wall because I'm packing up my office. So that's where I'm going here. Super Cat Chick. Let's see. No, she's talking about something else. Any other panels at WonderCon?
A couple that I picked up on. Certainly the Lost in Space panel.
We already gone over this. Yes.
If anything, because of the reinterpretation of the show, but also the cast. The cast is really impressive.
I am going to switch back from Hulu to Netflix because of that show.
The Scott Snyder Spotlight sounds cool. The Liam Sharp Spotlight sounds cool. That man is an underrated talent. I mean, only really known for his covers, but the man's got a back history of stuff. And also, the Brave and the Bold book, I think I mentioned this last week, is one of the most beautiful things I've seen on shelves in quite some time. But the one panel that I'm also interested in is the Screen Junkies panel. If anything, because if anyone brings up the topic of Andy Signal and his dismissal from Screen Junkies because of the sexual harassment charges that came up, that could prove to be an interesting panel to be in the room for. I can imagine there'll be bleeding cool or a comic book news journalist at the back of the room, just paying close attention, just to get typing a word.
Well, I think it was Screen Junkies last year had an amazing party at San Diego. So that's definitely there's somebody to keep on the radar.
Michael, it looks like you've got a couple as well.
Yes, I've got to put in a good word for Inside the Writers' Room. And it talks about the shows that inspired us. And you have all these great writers from all the shows that we love. $6 Million Man, Battlestar Galactica, X-Men First Class, Thor, The Librarians, Agent X, all these writers and producers from all these different shows talking about how these shows inspire us, maybe to be better, to remember with great power comes great responsibility. So
yeah. Dan, yeah, no, that sounds great. I would definitely, I'd be going to that one with you, actually, Michael. Absolutely. Dan Barry picked out one that I had forgotten to mention, but is also on my list. Nathan Fillion is hosting a screening of a series of unfortunate events at WonderCon Saturday night. It runs opposite of the Masquerade. That's a hard. Oh my God.
Really cool.
I would have a hard time picking which one to see, Nathan Fillion or the Masquerade. Oh my God, that's brutal. Comic-Con, you're CCI, you're being mean to me. You're brutal, and I'm not even going.
It'll help if you're a series of unfortunate events fan as well, which I happen to be. I love that show so much. It has not grabbed everyone's attention like it should do. It's a great show.
Dan is pointing out that the unfortunate events panel is before the Masquerade panel. I don't know, but I guess you could do both of them. It would be how I usually do panels. It might not be possible. But I suppose if you don't mind being way up in the back of the Masquerade, you could do both of them.
Just to wrap things up before we kind of move on to the topics, because it is now.
Yes.
Yeah. There's actually a couple of panels which I find interesting that they've been included, and I'm curious as to why. Say, for example, on the Sunday, Going Crypto, how digital coin technology is shaping how we live our lives. Really? Okay. That seems a bit odd to be.
It's odd but it's technological, so I can understand the inclusion. It is changing how we go to conventions. I mean, without PayPal. I mean, just you think about conventions without PayPal.
When it comes to technological panels, I mean, making 3D printing and FX techniques. Bitcoin, I don't quite get.
But Leonard, just real quick on that one, though, if you take a look at the explanation down there, they actually do talk about from gaming to animation to music. And so somehow they're going to say how this all relates to all that, because, gaming is a huge part of the community. Animation is too. So hopefully they'll tie it all in. Just guess. I don't know. I mean, that's news to me too. So I understand what you're saying. So I'm just saying maybe that's what they're going to do, try to tie it all together. Might be worthwhile just to go find out what they're going to say.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay.
So Toys R Us are closing.
Oh, okay.
That's a huge cultural shock to everybody in the United States. An icon.
For a number of the UK stores as well. It's international, is this? The fact that I think, is it the entire chain in the US that's closing, or select stores?
I've seen reports that all the stores are closing, or they're going into a evaluation of how things are going forward, going into bankruptcy, because I think they're in bankruptcy, and now they're really kind of at the point where they've got to close.
Well, at the end of the day, people have to ask, did they go to Toys R Us to buy their niece and nephew's toys, or did they go to Amazon? If they went, that's why Toys R Us are closing. It's,
yeah,
it's convenience. It's ease of use. It's cheaper to some degree. And at the end of the day, there's only so many times we can have a look at a box of Monopoly on a shelf.
That's got a point.
What Pluto looks like.
Yeah. But it's the 5-year-olds who go to the toy store and go, oh, I won, and you're missing that. You don't get that with Amazon. So that's and Sarita P says all stores are closing. Karen Sessions says closed due to bankruptcy.
That I pulled when I went into Blockbuster. Oh, Back to the Future 3.
Yep. So I just, I wanted to quickly bring that up. Do you guys know, just because I'm a little clueless as to why people are so interested in this? Well, I understand Jon Favreau being attached to any Star Wars thing as being a fun. What do they mean by live action Star Wars series? Does anybody know what that means, really?
Could mean anything. I think the other part of the conversation that took place this week as well is the fact that people found it problematic that another straight, white, older male was now helming a Star Wars series announced on International Women's Day. Nicely done there. Bravo.
Totally missed that. I did.
Although it's got to be said, Jon Favreau has turned around and said that he's going to be looking for an extremely diverse number of voices in terms of women directors, women writers, African American colored writers and directors. So while he's going to be producing it, he's not necessarily going to be hands-on. Although apparently he's also writing some of the episodes as well. Yeah, I think it was just timing. But what it actually means...
Yeah.
The last time I had a Star Wars show that went off and did its own thing was Clone Wars and Rebels. And I don't think that turned out too badly. Do you?
Yeah. Andrew English, it says just not animated. Okay, that makes sense. And to go off of what you said, I don't have a problem with a smart white guy doing TV shows. Perhaps announcing it on Women's Day was a little over the top, but moving on. Regardless, I will just do a shout out to the lady, the actress on 3 Billboards who made the inclusion rider a national topic, and that was brilliant on her part. Absolutely brilliant. I love the inclusion rider. If people don't know, I'm sure everybody does now. It dovetails into what Jon Favreau is said that he will do, and bring in talent of all ethnicities and genders, and that's great. That's all you can ask for. Francis McDormand. Michael P., what is this?
No. He was saying about swingers in space. I was going like, what?
Oh, Mark Serby, writing.
Swingers in space. Yes. The bigger issue, though, is I think you're right. Is the directors. If you can, what you want to do is hire female writers and directors so they get that opportunity. It doesn't make a difference. It'll make a difference eventually who the head person is, right? but you can't get to be the head person until you had that chance to be the writer's room, and then you get to be a director and the producers, and then you move up, and then because you have all that experience. But the faster you get people into those things, you get them into those directing jobs and those writing jobs, the faster they can move up.
Right.
Because if you look at Ryan Coogler is not that old. I mean, I'm sorry, but to me, he's a kid. He's 31. That's a kid to me. I'm sorry, but that's a kid to me. But he's so talented, so young. But look what they've handed him, and he handled it. But you've got to get him started someplace. The smaller films, the indie films and stuff. But once they've shown their promise, get them going.
Yeah.
Although we had one issue with one person, and I'm going to remember what Leonard said. I'm not going to mention his name, but we all saw the film and we wondered about the remake, and we all thought, oh wow, is that the same person who did this other film, which was really fabulous, and then he did this film, which is like, wow, what is that all about? And I'm not going to mention any names. If you think about it, it might have had to do a remake of maybe there were 4 individuals or something. So
I'm at a loss. The only thing I'm going to say is that Blade Runner 2049 won 2 Academy Awards, 2 Oscars. So we're not talking about that movie, are we?
Oh God, no. Leonard figured out it was a reboot. Leonard, you know what I'm talking about.
Alyssa, don't worry. It may be a little bit transparent to work out what this film may be. It may be a bit of a stretch.
Oh, okay. I got it. There you go. Because women are never invisible. Okay. Okay, I got it. I figured we've all figured it out now that that it's been spelled out for me. Thank you. Yes. One last topic. I've got one last quick topic that I wanted to mention was Liefeld's Extreme Universe has been picked up by Netflix. Which basically means he's got the likes of Bloodstrike, Brigade, Blood Wolf, are now Netflix now owns is now working with Liefeld, I guess, to develop these for Netflix.
Yeah.
This is interesting. I like this.
I find this interesting because the one thing that comics have been criticized of in recent years or in the past is having the depth of a small puddle, which is the Liefeld books had. Big puzzles, lots of pouches, and lots of people hitting each other in the face. It wasn't a lot of depth there. It was wham bam, thank you, ma'am. Where in 2018 and 2019, where that sits, I'm not too sure. But at the end of the day, Netflix are not the kind of people to just drop that amount of cash, and apparently it's one of the biggest deals that Netflix have done. Mm-hmm. They have dropped some serious money on this deal. Who knows? Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see where they take it. I mean, especially with the fabulous trailer that they just dropped on for Lost in Space, and that being as equally as it could be said that Lost in Space is equally as thin in character development, and plot wise as some of the Liefeld plot lines maybe. So. And if they could take it and run with it, that's great. Yeah. I think, in the end. So I have nothing else. Leonard, do you want to take us out?
Sure. No, I'll just do a very quick review of Walker Stalker 2019. This took place over yesterday and today at the Olympia in London. This is the celebration, obviously, of The Walking Dead, but also it feeds nicely into a whole bunch of other genre TV and movies, because you obviously have people like Ron Perlman appearing in Sons of Anarchy. Indeed, Sons of Anarchy had a dedicated panel with a couple of other actors that appeared in the series. You also had a number of Guardians of the Galaxy actors showing up. Obviously, you've got Michael Rooker behind entertaining a lot of people. And while there were a number of notable absentees, including Andrew, who Andrew, name complete. I have had no sleep. A number of cast members who dropped out last minute. It still held up quite well as a strong lineup. I felt, as somebody who's not the biggest Walking Dead fan, I felt I was looking around and seeing some pretty big names, and all of them were being well rated, and people were queuing up. And admittedly, it was a lot of kind of trying to get those surreptitious photos, because at the end of the day, Walker Stalker was of the intention that the only way you were to get an actual photo with these people or to interact with them is to actually pay for them. That's been one of the biggest criticisms of Walker Stalker and of FanFest, in that at the end of the day, if you want to do anything at this particular event, you have to pay for it. For myself, I just showed up with a general admission wristband. I had no intention of buying anything. I had no intention of meeting anybody. I had no intention of getting a photo from anybody. At which point, there's not a great deal for me to do, which was one of the reasons why I came back. The other reason was I wasn't able to find somewhere to get a stable Wi-Fi after the show had closed. All in all, though, I thoroughly enjoyed myself. They used the space in the Olympia really well. Obviously, this is, I think, the third time they've been to Olympia, so they know the room well. They know what to do and what to attract people's attentions. And all in all, I think Walker Stalker, while a little bit expensive, it was an entertaining show. What I find interesting is, at the end of the day, Walking Dead is coming to the end of its natural life. So what happens to the convention is almost like James Frazer, who's the guy behind the convention. He sees the end of the tunnel. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and it's like, okay, let's just get the most out of this as we possibly can. I think everyone can see that there could be a point where there's not going to be a Walker Stalker anymore, because at the end of the day, there's not going to be a show. So it's one of the questions that I'm going to be putting to James Frazer when we have him on the show. He's going to be joining us at some point in the next couple of weeks. He's taking a couple of weeks off, and then they hit Walker Stalker Tokyo, I believe, because it is an international thing. But he's wanting to just take a week, have a breather. But apparently he's more than willing to come on the show. So hopefully in the next couple of Sundays, we should be able to announce that James Frazer, who's behind FanFest, he's behind Heroes and Villains, behind Walker Stalker Con, he'll be joining us on the show. You can ask any of the questions that you want of him, especially when it comes to, say, for example, photo op prices and all of that palaver. But we'll get into all of that when we get him on the show, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
Can I say one thing, Leonard? Think Star Trek. You asked what's going to happen in the future after the show ends. Think Star Trek. That Star Trek 25-year convention was huge. That thing was sold out. The ticket prices were, wow. You had to hop your firstborn to be able to afford some of those ticket prices. But just saying.
True, but then again, Heroes and Villains have this rather interesting habit of, when people are no longer involved with the show, they don't invite them anymore. So they kind of have this short shelf life with the people they talk to.
it's short. I think I'm going to say this. I believe that's short-sighted, you know, and I think it's one of those things because the fans, they're characters who've died off that the fans truly love, you know, and obviously Chandler Riggs, you know, he could go to every show because the people they want to see him again, you know, to say thank you and you know for bringing that character to life. You know, he can do that for the next couple of years easily.
Oh yeah, his table was particularly full. He was getting his candy money. I was there, yeah.
He's got to pay for college. He's got to pay for college. College is expensive in the U.S., you know.
College for him and his kids, I think. Good grief.
Yeah.
So there we go. No, it was a lot of fun, and we'll be talking hopefully to James Frazer in the next couple of weeks.
Sounds wonderful. Sounds wonderful. Looking forward to it. Thanks for reaching out and getting him on the show.
I would have loved to have actually interviewed him on camera there and then, but he really was just kind of, as you can understandably, bouncing around and organising things and putting out fires and coddling guests and doing what organisers need to do while their party is on. So
sounds good. So where can take us out?
Michael online.
I'm sorry?
Where can we find Michael online? Let's.
Okay. You can find me on Facebook, you know, Michael P, or you can find me on Twitter at MickelP, MICLPEA, or else you can find me on the Friends of Forum, the articles I write for them about a certain show and other shows too.
Because he may or may not be excited about the April 12th, 11th, excuse me, season 3, is it?
Yes. Oh, hey, let's not forget Legion, April 3rd. We got to get people primed up for that. April 3rd, Legion. Come on. We got to get people primed up. No,
absolutely. We'll be going over it. I mean, I've already done the weekend television, Leonard, earlier. We did an upside down show. That's the official name for today. Is we started from the back end, and
that dropped looked incredible.
The Lost in Space trailer.
No, Legion trailer. It was amazing. Legion trailer.
Yeah.
Have you seen the artwork for that thing? Oh my, that artwork is brilliant. Yes.
Put that up on. I'm going to be a happy bunny.
People can find me at my Twitter handle, which is at Friends of CCI. Yes, I still am at Friends of CCI. I cannot get Friends of CC. That is something else. Has already claimed that handle, so I will forever be Friends of CCI on Twitter. You can also always find me on my website, friendsofcc.com, both for the blog, the weekly television articles, Michael's articles, a lot of upcoming television. I'm sure we're going to be doing something on the Legion too. Don't forget to catch Timeless, which I think is airing soon, as is Deception. Both of those, I think, are going to be the highlights of this week's television. Aside from the ongoing series, of course, we are starting to wrap up some shows. But you know, like I said, go read the blog that we've got posted today earlier on that. Leonard can tell you about where you can go to support our lovely broadcast that we do every Sunday at 1 o'clock. Today was an exception because the clock sprung forward and it's an upside down day because everybody's just messed up. And you guys UK people get to get messed up in 2 weeks because that's when your clocks jump forward. So,
well, back to normal in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, whenever.
It's going to be 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. GMT next Sunday. Same as this week's show. Well, kind of. You can find me at most of the social medias at Englishman SDCC, including on Vero, which I'm trying to post a little bit more to as we go. You can also support the Hangout as well at patreon.com/Englishman SDCC. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. We'd like to say back again next week. Yes, Michael?
No, just waving goodbye. I didn't want to do the Queen wave.
Take care, and we will see you next Sunday.
Bye all with the Queen wave. Absolutely. Take care. I'm working on it. It's working.
Right.